Let's talk a little bit about, your athletic career. What was the first sport you played? Was it basketball or football, or was it both kind of at the same time?
It was basketball, man. Basketball is my first love, for sure. Yeah, man. Honestly, basketball growing up, it was just everything for me. I stopped playing baseball to, pursue AAU basketball and start, on the travel circuit. So basketball was that. I credit basketball in the AAU world for my competitiveness. Like just going out there and playing dudes from different states, we traveled to Memphis, we went to Kentucky, we traveled around, of course going down in the DMV. You really get to see athletes from everywhere and to see how you match up to those athletes, whether it be on the basketball court. It translates to the football field too. So I definitely credit AAU to a lot of my success for athletics. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, with AAU and everything, I imagine it was real competitive. Some of the guys you play with are probably really good talents. Talk a little bit about trying to get playing time, or, at least the amount of playing time you want. Talk about how you balance, your emotions of what you want and what's best for a competitive team, especially, with like AAU.
For sure, man. Well, and I think that just my playing experience from, the AAU level to high school to college, I just embraced it as whatever I can do to help this team is what I'm gonna do. AAU, sometimes I would start, sometimes I'd be the sixth man off the bench. Regardless, I knew that when I went in the game, I had to affect it in a way that the coaches knew. And I tell players this all the time. If you're not starting when you get in the game, make sure that you give them a reason not to take you out.
For sure.
So that was my mindset at all times. Actually in college, I got on the field. First time ever getting on the field, long snap. I was a long snapper. And that was only because we had some people go down and they're like, who can do it? And I'm like, I know how to do it.
I want to get on the
field. Yeah, I'm on the field, man. I'm tired of standing over here. For sure. So that was my mindset with everything, though. It doesn't matter if you start. If you're in the game when it matters, in crunch time, that's really all that matters. So.
For sure. Talk a little bit about your experience, the dynasty of Martinsburg football. Your freshman year, to your senior year. Talk a little bit about how you got started there and, how things went for you.
Yeah, man. My story is pretty unique, man. I got those scrapbooks over there. I know we're gonna go through them, but just looking back, I was looking back with actually both my sons, Brandon and Arian, and just seeing where I started as a freshman, as a tight end and a linebacker, and then played tight end linebacker my freshman year, tight end linebacker my sophomore year. My sophomore year is when, it was actually my freshman year, we did a bounce pass play. I lined up out a receiver, the quarterback stepped back, he bounced it to me, and I threw an 80-yard touchdown bomb. So everybody was like, oh shit, this man, he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
So let's see. So they moved me to quarterback on the JV level. We came up here to Jefferson. And I'm still one of the only players at the JV level at Martinsburg to throw 2 touchdowns, catch 2 touchdowns, and rush for 2 touchdowns in the game.
Okay.
And it happened up there on the hill in Jefferson in a JV game. So after that, going into my junior year, I don't know if you guys know the story about Cam Pooler, but one of the craziest athletes I've ever seen in my life. He basketball, football, baseball, just exceptional all around. It's still a touchy subject, man, because it's a mysterious illness. They still to this day don't really know what happened. But those were the shoes that I had to fill. He got sick. It was actually his junior year. Came to school one day complaining about a headache, and then we never really saw him normal again. So my junior year, I came in. We had a senior. His name was Alex Shohantz, and then it was my first year ever playing quarterback for a full year. So Coach Walker, that summer, going into my junior year, like everything happened with Cam, and he came to me, he was like, listen, man, I know you're a competitor. I want to see what you can do for us at this position. And preseason came, we went to a couple 7-on-7s. We held our own here. I split time with Alex Shohantz at quarterback, and then I play a little receiver too. But then we went down to WVU. It's actually, I want to say still, I'm not sure, Tyson Bagent might have got a 7-on-7 championship at WVU. But we were the first ever Martinsburg 7-on-7 team to win a championship at WVU 7-on-7. So I did that, and come to the season, you know, Coach Walker, Coach Sherman, they sit me and Alex down and they say, listen, you know they're big on the two-man system. They're cool with running the two quarterbacks. They've done it for a while, but first game against Stonewall Jackson, man, I hit the ground running, and I think I just kind of proved to them that it was my job. And I mean, that's kind of where it started for me.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah.
My freshman and sophomore year, my sophomore year, I thought I was all basketball. It was probably my best year of basketball was my sophomore year at Martinsburg. So it was a transition, but I knew I was a competitor. And like you guys were just talking about before, as long as I was going to school for free and not coming out in debt, I didn't care what sport I was going to play.
For sure. You know, you talk about you transition from tight end, linebacker to quarterback, and that's, you know, that's what you're known for at Martinsburg High School, playing quarterback. I don't even know if a lot of people know that you know, the outside of your friends and, you know, close family members like Brent Ashenfelter, you know, you're number 5 quarterback at Martinsburg. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what you're known for. So can you talk a little bit about just being ready and accepting position change? I feel like in today's, you know, society that, you know, a lot of kids are stuck on a position or a role they play, a starting role. If they don't start, they're upset. If they don't play a certain position, they're upset. Can you talk about, you know, what it means to be accepting of, you know, new roles and whatever is gonna, you know, help the team?
For sure, man. And it wasn't just that transition for me in high school. You know, I went to college and made a transition back to tight end. Like a lot of people might think, oh, he, you know, didn't play quarterback in college, but it was a decision based on what's best for the team and what's best for me to get on the field now.
For sure.
I didn't want to sit. That was my main thing in college. But my main thing in regards to like going from a linebacker, tight end, now I'm a quarterback, that's like, okay, you just got a promotion.
Yeah, for
like
sure. For sure.
It's not just I can show up and just go through the motions anymore.
For sure.
I'm the leader now.
For
Everybody's
sure.
looking at me like,
For sure.
whatever. I have to lead by example.
Because oftentimes, you know, other positions on the field, you can kind of hide, you know, blend in, but, you know, all eyes are on the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're directing everybody where they need to go. You know, any errors on offense, that's on you. You know what I mean? Even if it really isn't, like, you know what the people are going to say. It's on you, the quarterback.
I mean, outside of the center, quarterback's the only other player on the field that's going to touch the ball every play.
Sure.
So, like you said, all eyes are on the quarterback. And the main thing with me, man, is I knew that I had big shoes to fill.
For sure.
I mean, my sophomore year, I watched Cameron Pooler single-handedly bring us back from 4 touchdowns down, and we rode his back in the second half, and we lost to South Charleston by I think maybe 6 points.
For sure.
But I just knew that was a huge loss for us, and I knew that I had to do whatever I could to help our team win. And I still to this day, I actually went on the Monday Night Mayhem with Travis Bajan. We talked a little bit about the best Martinsburg state championship football team.
Okay.
And
now I didn't watch that, so keep it honest with me. What was the best?
So everybody thought that I was gonna say a team that I played for. I think every team individually like just has something that they might have been a little better at than some others. But the most complete team, and I was a part of it on the coaching side, was Tyson's senior year.
Okay.
I think there's 3 things that really make you a great football team, and that's how much of a family-oriented environment you have. Your quarterback, which we know he's the best we've seen.
He's a real deal.
I mean, he's the best. He's Martinsburg's QB1. I don't care what anybody says. He's the best.
That's real.
And then defense. And that defense was wild. You got Jalen Hessen, Tavis Lee. You got linebackers that fly to the football. You got Grant Harmon, you know, at safety that's a dog. So
for sure.
I picked that I want to say that was a 16 team.
For sure.
But in close second, I think that my first year, and it was Martinsburg's first ever one, so it's real special, which kind of puts them up there. But we were playing for a bigger purpose. It wasn't just about, oh, you know, we need to win for us. Like, we were winning for Cam Pooler. Like that was our reason. And I think it brings out people's competitive sides when they know they're playing for something more than just a win. And I think that there's not a team out there that was more close knit than what it was my junior year. And then
because of the circumstance that was going on as well,
man,
off the field.
We rallied together. We were doing, off the field stuff to help raise money for Cameron's, medical expenses. So it was just that year was special. And I've actually even had this talk with Coach Walker, and he says the same thing. All of them have something that's special, but those two right there are real special in regards to just that first one, of course, is super special. Yeah. First one all ever in school history. But when you've got a team that dominated like Tyson and them did his senior year, it's hard not to. Yeah. I mean, they were
flowers.
20th in the nation in scoring. That's an offense
that's crazy.
Is putting up some points.
And so you talk about, was it 2010?
The first one.
The first one, 2010. Was it your first one or the first one in school history?
First one in school history.
And you were the quarterback for that.
Yeah.
And so for you to get on here, and it's crazy that, a lot of players that played before someone, they won't give them their flowers, or, they'll kind of quote unquote hate on it a little bit, but you got on here and said like Tyson's QB1. You know what I'm saying? Even though you kind of paved the way for guys like him, you know what I'm saying? He definitely, looked up to you at one point, you know what I'm saying, when he was younger. For you to get on and say he's QB1, even though you made history, like that means a lot and speaks a lot, about your character.
Man, my thing is I want each generation to be better than I was. And Tyson really came in. Him and I, now he lost games as a sophomore, but him and I are two of the only quarterbacks in Martinsburg history to go undefeated in 2 years, 28-0, win 2 state championships. And it wasn't just about what we did on the field. One thing that I loved about Tyson was his leadership. I'm coaching him his junior year. This is the first year I came back to help coach. Coach Walker got me on the staff, and he won that first championship. And I looked at Travis Bajan, and I was like, hey, he's getting up there. He's about to make a name for himself. And his dad looked at me and said, he's gonna be the best one ever. I was like, okay. Next year comes, he wins another one. And broke a record for completion percentage in the state championship game. I think it was like 93% or something. I think he had one incompletion, something wild. And I looked at Travis and I said, all right, I'll give him his flowers. And Travis looked at me and was like, motherfucker, we knew this. Like, we knew.
That's crazy. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes, that, a lot of younger kids, they just want to go Division I, right? That's all they hear about, Division I, because on TV, it looks so sweet, that lifestyle and everything like that. But, it's not always green on the side, man. Nah. Like, go where you can be special. Yeah. That's what I say.
Well, and for free, man. You don't want to be out here in debt based off of going to school. So I'll never knock a kid for wanting more, wanting to go to that D1 level, walking on. But my main thing, and I think even with Tyson, he was so family oriented that he just wanted to be here. And Shepherd's always been Shepherd, but now it's a different breed over there. He really did. He did. I mean, they've got the TB2 scholarship. Like, he's the Harlan Hill Trophy winner, first one ever. So that for Shepherd University is huge as well. Yeah.
And talk a little bit about, you play with a lot of good guys, football-wise, for Martinsburg. I mean, you guys are, in the last, 10 to 12 years, the most winningest high school football team in, the country, right? Or
at one point, we did have one of the top, I think we were like second in win streak. I think it was like 57-0.
That's crazy.
Martinsburg's had a lot of athletes over the years.
For sure.
I mean, hell, what got me interested in Martinsburg football was Nate Sowers and Brandon Barrett, who Brandon Barrett was next in line after Calvin Johnson in ranking of high school wide receivers at one point. Yeah. I think that's what drove me to want to play for Martinsburg. And then whenever it was my time, we were just a lot different than the kids nowadays. Like, I talk with Coach Sherman a little bit now, and even some of the other coaches around the area, and I think the biggest difference between us back then and the kids now is the egos a little bit, and I need to score.
For sure.
You know, I need to stand
like
out.
a competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When the real goal, if we're from a small town, we should all, you know, be on the same page, because if we're all clicking,
Yeah.
the scouts are just gonna come. You know what I mean? They're just gonna
see,
come.
and my one thing, and this is not a knock to trainers like yourself or, you know, dudes that are doing it like Gordon. No knock to them, because the kids need that. They need that individual work. But the only way that you're gonna get that close knit is if you work out with your team.
For sure.
So like we at Martinsburg, they do a hell of a job with off-season workouts,
keeping guys
conditioning.
together and stuff like that.
But more recently, even with last year's team, some of the teams before, it was more or less, I'm going with my individual trainer, so they don't show up to this.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a big part in nowadays just why we see so much I. Like I want this, instead of we want the bigger picture.
Yep, for sure.
And I think that was a good thing about the Martinsburg teams that you saw be successful, is it was some of the most unselfish kids.
For sure. And what I've seen more of now with, you know, the training organization, I've seen a lot of kids, you know, play for the same travel team, same high school team. They'll actually set up sessions to work out together.
Yeah.
And it's been benefiting them. You know what I mean? Just getting chemistry,
That's
you know, listening to music, they're clapping during a training session. You know what I mean? Like, it's like practice away from their school practice.
There's nothing like getting after it with the dudes you're gonna get after it in the game. Because I mean, we all know, we've all been competitors at one point, so we know that the harder you go in practice, the easier it is for you in the game.
For sure.
So if you're going hard with the dudes that you're doing it with in the game, then you trust them more.
For sure.
You know, if you know, say we got it's not a mandatory practice, but it's a shoot around, and then you don't got dudes to show up, and then, and I think something with kids nowadays is they're so communication on social media, texting wise, they don't know how to voice opinions and stuff.
For sure.
Back in the day, if somebody tried to go to an individual workout and didn't come to the team workout,
for sure,
they were going to hear it when they got back.
You definitely got to hear
like
that.
They might have been hazed when they got back in the day. I know it's a little different now. You can't do that anymore.
For sure.
There's some things you can't learn from winning.
For sure.
And I think that's one thing right now that, especially with the Martinsburg football program, is those kids are so spoiled from all the winning in the past. And I mean, hell, they got $1 million weight room over there that some college programs don't even have.
For sure.
They got people that make them lunch and stuff during their practices, and which we didn't have back in the day. So,
and you know, you talk about Martinsburg football, all the winning. You know, they lost this year in the playoffs, and you know, it's crazy when you win so much. You know, people call this a down year. You know what I mean? Losing in the semifinals game of a state tournament, that's a down year. You know what I mean? So that's just a credit to. You know, it's really a compliment in itself that that's considered a down year. You know, most teams, a down year is you don't make the playoffs.
Under 500.
Yeah, under 500. So that's got to be, you know, in a way, it's a compliment to Martinsburg football. What you guys done, the road you paved, you know, starting out in that 2010 season.
Well, and that's the thing, like that 2010 season really like set the standard. Because we were junior heavy that year. Like I think we only graduated 4, maybe 5 seniors that actually played, like made an impact they were really on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, we were young. I think we only graduated 1 offensive lineman and then a receiver that wasn't even a starter. So we went into my senior year, and I'll never forget, we've got a running back, his name's Chris Perkins. I'm still great friends with him. He was doing an interview with the Journal, and they asked him what his expectations of this year was, and he said, my expectation is to win another state championship.
For sure.
So that's like, that was our mindset. Like, we're like, all right, we just did it. All of us are back. So we're about to do it again. And then we went down to 7-on-7 at WVU and won the championship again for the 7-on-7. So,
and we talked about football a lot, and I don't want to get it twisted. I want the people to know that you can hoop too.
Oh yeah,
right? You was a hooper. Like when I was in middle school, you were one of my favorite players. Like you weren't really flashy or anything like that, man. You got there every rebound. You know what I'm saying? You got them and ones, and you just like tough. Like you were just a tough guy on the floor. Speak about your experience playing at another program that was very well winning. You know what I mean? You guys won a lot of basketball games at Martinsburg. been to a lot of state championships. Do you have a state championship for?
I do. So technically I do. You know, I was a practice player. What had happened was my freshman year, I played freshman basketball, but I was outscoring other teams, like by myself. Like
Other teams?
Yeah,
like the whole
I
team?
would score 28 points. They'd score 22. So like by the end of the year, Coach Rogers is like, hey, we're gonna move you up to JV. So again, just like kind of like with football, we came up here to Jefferson.
Why is Jefferson always catching?
I don't know, man, but
It's
we came up
crazy.
here to Jefferson in the JV game, and I think I dropped 20. And it was right before we were about to go into the playoffs and stuff. And three dudes on the basketball team. One of them flunked off, and two of them just ended up quitting on the varsity basketball team. So they were like, listen, you want to come along for the experience? And I was like, hell yeah, you know, free. I get out of school, I'm practicing with Isaac and all of them. So I'm like, yeah, you know, I want to do that.
This your freshman year?
That's my freshman year, yeah. So I played freshman, JV, and varsity all that year. Didn't log any minutes in varsity, but just the experience itself, you know, being around dudes who are doing it, like Isaac and Cam. But I think with basketball, it really started AAU team respect, you know, with Garrett and Reek and Jalen and Cody and all of them. Because I was an undersized big man. Like I was our forward. So I'm going against dudes like, I'll never forget, I got to play against Anthony Bennett, who was a first round draft pick, number one overall. So I've really learned how to use my body in basketball. Like I'll never forget a quote I think I said down at States my senior year, after I scored 28 points down the States.
Okay.
My senior year, a reporter they set it up nice. You know, you're in there on the podium, you're talking to all the reporters, and the dude asked me, was like, what's your mindset on the basketball floor? And I was like, play football.
Yeah.
Like I was the bruiser. Like
be physical.
Yeah, I was so physical. Someone who reminds me a lot of myself now is Wyatt.
Wyatt Shively for Jefferson.
Because he knows how to, like, he's not the biggest dude, but he knows how to use his body.
For sure, another football player.
Football guy.
Talk about those Martinsburg and Hedgesville rivalry games.
Basketball.
Yeah,
man.
basketball. Yeah.
Those were, still to this day, my senior year haunts me, man, because we beat Hedgesville that year 3 times. And they ended up winning the state championship. So,
really?
Yeah, it still haunts me to this day. We lost on a buzzer beater to GW, but those rivalry games, they don't make them like those games anymore.
Yeah,
man. They really don't.
I mean, I remember when I was young, I was in middle school, and my dad would pick my brother and I up from school. Like, school got like 2:30. My dad was waiting in the car, like, come on, we gotta get to Martinsburg. We gotta get to Hedgesville. You know what I'm saying? Just coming, coming real early.
Yeah.
You got there for the freshman game.
If you didn't,
and you watched the JV game, so you really there for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll never forget it was my senior year. We were going to Hedgesville, and of course JV and freshmen took their own bus. We pulled up varsity bus, you know, maybe like 30, 45 minutes later. But when we got there, the line was out the door to the street, like wrapped around. And I'm like, oh my God, like we got to show out.
Yeah.
And Hedgesville at that time, man, they were as talented as they come to. You got QJ, CJ, Chris Shields.
Pro basketball players.
Dudes that are pro now, exactly. Like 3 dudes that are pros. So it just goes to show, you know, and then we got one on our side of Buddha and Dante. So that was some of the best basketball
for sure
this area is seeing in a while.
Yeah. And you know, back in the time when games really sold out, like, you know what I mean, like you couldn't get, if you weren't there for that freshman game, you might as well. And I don't even know if, you know, TV10
they weren't around. So that's why, and I think it's a luxury, like home team sports, TV10, it's a luxury now. Because people are like, oh man, I don't got to go to this game. I can sit on my couch and watch it. But I think it atmosphere-wise, it changes a lot of stuff for the athletes playing. Because they don't get that sold out crowd where there's not an empty seat in the house.
It's like a real college game, you know what I'm saying?
Bro, there were some games, like even Washington was really good whenever I was in high school. You know, Damo, Kendall, Reek, Charles Hagler, Charles Yates. They were really good.
So they were, your senior year?
So they would have been
sophomores?
Yep, I would have been a sophomore. Oh, I would have been a senior when Damo and them were sophomores.
And that's when they were climbing.
Yeah.
Like, so it was, you know, you had squads like Hedgesville,
Yeah.
Martinsburg, and it was like, those were dominant squads.
Yeah.
And then they were coming up. They were young guys coming up.
We played, my junior year, actually, Washington beat us in
The playoffs.
regionals to go, no, in sectionals to go to regionals.
That's
Because they did
crazy.
it a little different back in the day where regionals was like, you go play like RC Bird and Bridgeport,
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's a little different now how they do it. But yeah, Washington ended up beating us my junior year. That was the only time I didn't actually go to states in my
Really?
basketball career. Yeah.
So that year, you know, when Washington beat you guys, were you guys like, oh, like, hold on, like?
Yeah, but my thing is like I think that loss humbled us because like that was Buddha and them sophomore year. I was a junior. I want to say we graduated maybe 3 seniors, if that, and John Eddie, Darren, and Marcus, I think. So we knew the next year, it's like, well, okay, we gonna be straight. Like we're gonna be good.
For sure. It just stung a little bit.
Yeah, well, it did because we knew we were supposed to be there. Like
Yeah.
we knew we beat Washington twice that year, and then they beat us in the sectional. So we knew ever.
Did you start that year?
That was a year that it was like honestly, besides my sophomore year, it was up and down if I started or I didn't.
It just changed.
And I didn't care. Like they
matchup,
knew, hey, well, if that's what you want to do, like if you want to bring me off the bench, I'm cool with that. I'm giving you a spark.
For sure.
Like,
and that's another thing we talked about, being accepting of that. You know what I mean? Some, you know, and you were a senior.
Yeah.
Right? You could have easily been like, I've been here since technically a freshman. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you could have been like, forget this.
Losing my senior year the way we did, I'll never forget. I was in the Civic Center. After our game, I went up away from everybody. I was in the high risers. I walked all the way up to the top just by myself. And it was the first time like I was really crying after a loss because I'm like, man, basketball's over for me. Like I know at that point I'm going to Fairmont to play football, so I'm like, damn.
So you had already committed before that.
Yep.
So I guess that kind of, that's where you got the idea of like all these football guys, whatever.
So, I mean, it crushed me because, like I told you, basketball was my first love, man. That was like my first competitive sport. Like it was basketball and baseball. And at that point, I was like, damn, we lost my last basketball game and I'm done. Like my basketball career is over. But then I was hyped the next year whenever they won.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like I won, but it was like, damn, at least what happened last year was a bigger purpose.
Yeah,
like
for
it was
sure.
like, I know that Buddha and Jalen and Denzel and Jordan, I knew that it stung as a junior to not make it. So I'm like, all right, they learned their lesson. People don't realize, like they think, oh, sports is just you learn how to be competitive. Like, nah, sports you learn about life.
Yeah.
Like you and like
and
you
everyone's
just build,
not like you. You know
Nah,
what I mean?
yeah. Well, that's something that I loved at the college level is like just getting to meet so many different people from around the world. Like football, you got 112 kids coming in during camp.
Mhm.
You know, we had dudes from California, Georgia. We were super heavy on Florida dudes. So still to this day, one of my best friends now, Shad Alexander, he's from Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're totally different. But the vibe, with the dude was just
I got a bond.
Yeah.
Even though you're from, you know what I'm saying, from
two
Florida.
different places,
You can't even explain this part of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because
bro, it was so funny because like them dudes from Florida never even saw snow before.
Yeah, it's
so
wild.
like we would be, snow would come in Fairmont. Fairmont got bad. Like we're in the mountains, so Fairmont, it's coming down. I'd be giving them my jackets and stuff like, nah, we're going to snowboard. Like I'm about to show you how to sled ride.
It was foreign to them, huh?
Yeah, like they're like, snow? What are you talking about? Like I saw some Florida dudes touch snow for the first time.
That's crazy.
So like that was cool to me.
Like you with like a little kid or something.
Yeah,
the first time they did
and it really was, bro. It was like a kid first finding out. Like, it was cool though, and just that the lifelong friendships you build with dudes that you really don't have a lot in common with, but just like you was in the weight room together.
Sure.
You was on the field, like you really, the blood, sweat, and tears, like that's real.
For sure. And just, you know, where I'm at today with my training business, I'm connecting with a lot of people that I always knew of, but like now I'm kind of getting close to them, and even with you know what I mean? I always knew who you were, but I never like knew you. You know what I mean? And especially with coaches, you know what I mean? Some former players I played against go to Hedgesville. One of the guys trains with me now. You know what I mean? He's with our organization. It's funny to catch up and stuff and be like, no, I didn't like you in high school. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like playing against you. You know what I mean? You fouled a lot, stuff like that. So that's what I feel like sports does.
It does. Everyone. Well, and I think one thing that, like, I think that all of us older dudes, like, that played the game, we need to do is kind of like what you and I are doing. We need to give back to these dudes because, like, there's certain things that I sit back and I'm like, damn, I could have did it. I could have did it differently, and I might have been more successful. For sure. So, like, us telling these younger dudes our story and like what happened, like your story, it's unique too. Everybody's got their own unique story, but if we don't get it out and really let these young dudes know like how it went and how it's supposed to go. It's
gonna keep some kids that probably doubting themselves right now. Like, oh, let me keep going. You know what I mean? Yeah. I play this position now. They want me to change. I don't want to do it. Oh, but you know, Brandon did it and he brought home, you know, state championships. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like you hear stuff like that, it's gonna keep you rolling. It's gonna keep you inspired. You know what I mean?
Well, and like even going back to like my college playing days, like it was like I talked about getting switched from linebacker and tight end to QB. It was like a promotion. When I got to college, you the low man on the totem pole. And what really happened was we had 3 tight ends on the roster my freshman year. I was a quarterback, but those 3 all got hurt. So they looked at me and they're like, dude, you could probably play tight end. And Josh Brown was our wide receivers coach. And he's like, listen, man, if you want to get on the field this year, you'll make this switch. Like, just make the switch. Like, it's all good. You can move back to quarterback at the end of the year, but we need a tight end. For sure. So, like, I was like, you know what? I'll do it. Like, I want to get on the field. I'm tired of standing over here long snapping.
You know, your mindset going in there is like,
it felt like a demotion. Yeah. It really did. It felt like I was getting demoted because I'm like, damn, are y'all saying that I'm not a quarterback? Yeah. But they're like, no, we're not saying that. We're just like, bro. We got this 5th-year guy from Miami that has a strong arm, and he's like a 28-year-old senior. So he's an old dude, good quarterback. So they're like, listen, you're not getting on the field this year. Just go ahead and make this switch, get on the field, get the feel of college. And then, unfortunately, I made that switch, and then that whole coaching staff got fired. So the plan was for me to make that switch and move back. Sure. But then that new coaching staff came in, and I still have a great relationship with Coach Woodman nowadays. Like now, I mean, I was just up there talking with him. I was up in Fairmont for work last week, and I stopped in, saw him, and chatted for about 40 minutes. But they came in, they brought their dudes with them. And he came in, and I'm like, listen, I want to play quarterback. I told him. And he's like, all right, you can go into camp as a quarterback. We'll evaluate you, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I saw where it was going. I saw, like, all right, he's got his dude. I saw where we were at tight end, and I'm like, listen, I'm not sitting. Yeah. Like, that's one thing I'm not doing.
And
like,
you being realistic for what you wanted at that current time. You know
my main thing was it wasn't like I was like, damn, I'm never going to make it to the league. Because, like, I played with Dewey. You know, I saw Dewey. I saw the buzz. I played with C.J. Goodwin, who is playing with the Cowboys right now. He played at Fairmont. Like, it wasn't like I couldn't do it. But my main goal going there was I got to get this free education. And when that new coach came in,
keep it. Like,
keep this guy. Keep that. Yeah. So, like, when that new coach came in, if you're not playing and you wasn't producing, I saw him taking people's money quick. So I was like, oh shit, I'm not about to sit as a 5th-string quarterback. So I had the option to transfer. I was actually going to transfer with Dewey over to Cal PA, but just Fairmont embraced me as a whole. Like, the community in Fairmont, like, I had a job selling cars. Like, I was making good money as a college student. So, like, I had that, you know, I was living off campus in a 5-bedroom house.
That's dope.
2 of my good friends, like, so that was something that kept me loyal to Fairmont. And I think that's something that you don't see.
Ran, you know what I'm saying? When it got tough, they said, Brandon, you're not playing quarterback right now. You know what I mean? I just won multiple state championships. Well,
and that's something else. Like, you got your teammates, like, telling you, like, man, you need to go ahead and play quarterback. Go ahead and play quarterback. And I'm like, bro, I'm not. Like, I want to. You don't understand. Like, I want to more than anybody. But my main thing is keeping my scholarship and playing. That's what I want to do. Like, that's what I want to do. I'm not worried about the quarterback aspect. Like I know I could do it, but I want to get on the field.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. For sure.
So that's what kept me there at Fairmont. Really was like the community, and then like the Woodman dude. Like he's a good dude, bro. Like I people don't even know this story, but like people really. I mean, I guess it's what all coaches is hate, or you hate it or love them. But like it was actually my junior year up there. You know, I had my first kid, my son, and I went back. Like my son was born in July, and I was back in camp by August 1st. But like that, and that's something like with my story. Like I feel like I can tell these young dudes now, like you need to. Listen, no regret in having my son, but at the end of the day, I wasn't ready. Like you get ready though. You know, Keegan knows you get ready when you have a kid, but like I was still so college. Like I was college.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I left, you know,
Yeah.
I left. I went to play football, you know, and I had an extra year. But, you know, Woodman, he's like, man, you know, he's helping me out. He's buying me formula. I'm sending formula back here to Brittany and my son, you know, stuff like that. So, like, that's something that made me just have so much more of a respect for him, because it's like
he cared about you.
It's bigger than football.
Yeah, he cared
like
about you off the field.
He's buying me, you know, things of formula to send back home to my newborn son and, you know, girl. So that was huge to me, and that's why him and I still have a good
Showed you a lot
relationship.
about him as well. It's like, even if you're not my quote unquote best player, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking out for, you know, people a part of my organization. That's huge, man. That's dope, man. I appreciate you for getting on the show with us, man. Giving us the real scoop. Starting the dynasty up from the state championships to now, man, giving life lessons. Appreciate you.